Hello, and welcome to the Darby Creek Diaries. I'm Gail Thompson, and today we're going to work with Mr. Rabbit, which is by Stampers Anonymous, designed by Tim Holtz. We're going to start by putting a 4¼ by 5½ piece of distressed watercolor paper on the smooth side. I think that stamps better. And we're going to use Ranger Archival ink in black soot. And I'm just going to put him a little jaunty there. It's always easier to make things a little crooked than that on purpose. Then you don't have to worry about them being straight. So I'm just going to go ahead and put him in. I forgot that you want to take that pad out if you're going to do a rubber stamp like this because they're thicker. And we're getting it all set up. My ink pad is a little dry, and I'm in a basement which is kind of cold, so I'm going to probably stamp this a minute, make sure I get plenty of ink, and it's really better to do a couple light layers than to do one thick layer, especially because there are a lot of fine lines in this and you don't want to smush it. So I'm just gently patting it and giving it a second to absorb. And I see a spot that I didn't get, so I'm going to go back at it, make sure we got everybody covered. Although, I mean, the antique type of stamps, they can have little open spots and it would just be part of the charm, I suppose. But here we go. Now, I would leave the bunny in the Misty if you are going to use anything but water-based pigments because if you use a pigment ink or pigment crayons, you're going to want to re-stamp it after you're done coloring to bring back the crisp black. Off camera, I made a mask and I'm just trying to get it on there. The mask cannot be cut by the die. Simon Says Stamp has some dies, but you can't really use it because you'd have a halo around your rabbit. So hand cut it just a little bit inside the lines so that it will blend well with your background and you won't have this white halo. I'm going to just play with some sprays, salvage patina oxide, and there's no rhyme or reason to this. I am just spraying away. I'm using a little stain, a little oxide. I'm making splops. I'm, just going at it. There's really no technique to this, but I'm going to put a little spritz on there, and later I'll put some water on there. The spritz will give it a shine, and if you put it in just a little bit, it will not come off on your hands. And then I'm going to spray it a little bit with some water to get it moving, but I don't really care if it moves a bunch because, and I have to be careful. You don't want to use too much water because the masking magic is very thin, and so you don't want to, abuse it. And I'm using a heat tool. It's not like a embossing gun. It doesn't have quite it has a spread out air, is what I'm trying to say. So you won't burn anything. And then I got out the regular Misty because I want to put some images in the background and I want them to hang off the side. Everything looks a little better when it goes over the side. It just doesn't look, I don't know, fake. I don't know what, it just looks better. So I had to have room to lay some stamps, and there's no rhyme or reason to this either. Just whatever you can kind of squeeze on there. You can see I'm playing around. It really, really doesn't matter. And since the bunny's masked, it's just going to be behind it. Anything that you want behind, you will stamp. The mask will keep that part in front. And I think I finally have it the way I want it. Oh, by the way, I did take the foam insert out of the Misty tool this time. Now I'm just going to stamp it. And like I said, it's kind of hard I have a little dip in my table too, so I kinda have to kind of be a little stronger with my inking, especially since, I mean, we have over a foot of snow outside and it's cold, and I'm in the basement, so the ink isn't as freely, moving as one might have in warmer climates, let's say. So I'm gently pressing. I am not, shoving. I am just gently pressing there. Now I'm switching out to darker ink because this is peacock feathers. I wasn't getting quite the transition, the texture that I wanted. So we're going to try a little darker and see how that goes. And then just lightly and giving watercolor takes a second to absorb ink, so you want to give it a chance. And let's see, yes, that's much bolder. I like that a lot better. I'm using a Simon Says Stamp Brutus Monroe sticky mat. And so you want to just fold that and get the paper off. That's the easiest way. So here we are with Mr. Bunny, and I'm just hitting it with the heat tool a second. I've got my little hot hands, but those are by Ranger, and I just want to make sure everything is kind of set. And we'll take a look at it. The best part is yet to come when we peel off the mask. Oh, I think I'm adding some water there, but we are now going to go ahead and take off the mask. And this mask can be reused. Let it dry. It'll have a couple uses in it, but here is Mr. Rabbit. I decided that I didn't like the dots where they landed, so I'm just going to add a few extra. I just thought it looked kind of blank there. And so I'm very carefully going to go back in and make sure that I have that in exactly the right spot, which apparently is harder than it looks. And there we go. And I'm going to ink it up. And since the mask is off, I need to be super de duper careful. And so I'm kind of maybe over careful. But I'm just going to do those three and see what happens. Okay, well, now I've got to move it a little bit. In for a penny, in for a pound. Almost never does. And I see where the dots land, and I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. And then we will be doing some other colors later. I I really love these colors, but I decided once I had the bunny colored that I needed more in the background. So anyhow, here is some tattered rose for the inside of his ears. And I would never ever deign to teach watercoloring or coloring in any way. So I'm just quickly going to race through this, and you'll just you know how to color. And if not, there are a lot of great people out there. I just really don't have that talent, so I'm just quickly adding some color just to a light he's going to be a light brown bunny. I just didn't want him so stark white, so I had to do something with him. But we're just going to quickly color and do a little bit of the outside of his ears. And I tried to do a little darker where the shading was. But I'm going to just put on a little bit of music, and you'll be able to see what I'm doing, and we will see in a minute. So now I'm trying to figure out what I want to frame it with. And do I want to do the grape or do I want, or the grape, the purple or the raspberry? Well, the rule of thirds says go with the third color. So if you look at the brown as being the second color, the teal the first, purple wins. And I think it does look better. So I'm going to put it back in my Misty because I decided that I like the monochrome background, but I think it needed a little bit of zhuzhing up, so I'm gonna put some raspberry and some wilted violet on it, and of course, I replaced the mask, which I just had sitting off at the side, and I'm just going to play around, and, I will be back in a minute. I'm back. We're just finishing up. I'm just going to just quickly finish up here and let's get this mask off and see what we've got to work with. I think it's going to be pretty cool. A little bit of droplets of water on and see if I can mute out the background just a hair. That was sort of an afterthought, so I'm just kind of picking up a little bit here and there, and I'm not sure how much you're going to notice it. So here's the reveal. Ta-da! Isn't he a handsome dude? So now we've got to trim the background down so we can see our frame. And I'm using a rounded rectangle die. It's very old from Hero Arts. And off screen, I went ahead and trimmed that down on my die cutter. Now I'm going to add the sentiment, which is also from Tim Holtz. It's from Crazy Talk. And it says Happy Easter. And I want to make sure it's lined up. So I have it on one of those Simon Says stamp clear grids because I want it exactly right. And I didn't want to emboss because I like the antique look of it being kind of flat. So I'm just going to take that black soot ink and very lightly stamp it a couple of times and just very softly press because that skinny type will, make the Easter get kind of smooshed looking, and we don't want to smush. So just lightly. So here is Mr. Rabbit, and I'm going to go ahead and layer him onto that lovely purple and get the card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to go ahead and attach all of that with my wonderful glue press that even when it's cold, it still works pretty well. And I'm just going to stand up that card base because the purple is the same exact size. So I'm using my Pear Blossom press, the A7, not A2 size, because the A7 has an 1/8" frame and you can just line it up super simple. And I'm going to add some glossy accents to his eye to make it stand out a little bit give him a little bit of life. I didn't want to make it a big black eye or anything, so I just thought that would help. And now I've got my tonic glossy glitter pen. Everything's linked below, and I'm dabbing because it is water-based, and I don't wanna redo my watercolor underneath. I don't wanna reactivate it. And there's Mr. Rabbit, shiny eye and glistening tie. Isn't he handsome? I hope that you enjoyed this and that you will try it out, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and come back and see me real soon. Bye-bye.